Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Sometimes older people just don't give a damn about anything. So let's start our video with a story about a petty revenge that an old lady took just because she's old. So before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Don't mess with Auntie. A story from my family lore about my late aunt, a story I fully believe. Although she was a small person, somewhat overly concerned with appearance, she was also someone who took crap from no one. She lived in Greater Boston. On the day in question, she was driving in an older section in a one-way alley. She was nearly through when an 18-wheeler entered the alley going the wrong way. It was obvious that he expected her to reverse the length of the alley to get out of the way of his shortcut. My aunt looked at him, then locked her doors, shut off her engine, and picked up her knitting. While he sat there and honked and swore, she ignored him for knit 1, purl 2. Eventually, he had to back out into Boston traffic and go around. I asked her once what would she have done if he tried to push her out of the way. Her answer, I needed a new car anyway. And our second story. Forced to comply, but still not stupid. In the 1990s, although the Cold War had been winding down, Germany still enforced conscription. It's still on the books today, but not enforced anymore. Not everyone had to serve, as the army had been reduced in size, so only about 50% of the young men of any year had to go in the end. I was one of the unlucky men, going through medical checks, assorted testing procedures, and got a first taste of life in the military. Namely, procedures for procedure's sake and lots of administrative bullfeces. So I decided to refuse service with the armed forces, a perfectly legal choice, extending my time to serve from 12 to 15 months and earning the job title of somebody doing public service. Short, ZV. So 18-year-old me ended up in a local hospital doing general assistance, fetching patients for their treatments, etc., until they told me I'd be transferred to the psychiatric ward to help there. They even included a reminder that under the conscription laws, I had no right to refuse that posting. Not that I had any intention of refusing, but I really look forward to doing actual work with long-term patients. But this legal reminder got me thinking, if they were so eager for me to follow the rules, certainly they'd do the same. The rules stated explicitly that Zivas were only allowed in assistance roles, were never to replace but only augment trained healthcare personnel, and had to receive mandatory training before dealing with certain types of tasks, e.g. patients with psychiatric disorders. The first day at the psychiatric ward came and went. Really nice ward. The nurses were really friendly and happy to have me, low on trained staff, so I was to replace a fully trained nurse. And they told me about the mandatory training, which I neither had nor found in my schedule in the near future. So I, following the rules, inquired at the regional KWEA office in charge of all the ZVs in a region about that training, and they didn't have me on the schedule either. By law, I was required to inquire there whether a tasking required additional training. The very next day, the head of nursing furiously called me into his office, asked whether I'd been in contact with the guys at KWEA, because he had just received a fax referring to my call and ordering mandatory scheduled trainings for all 40-plus ZVs at the hospital between 2 and 4 weeks each, depending on their respective tasks. Apparently, they had always forgotten to notify KWEA of special training requirements, thereby increasing the amount of time they could use this as cheap labor. Hourly rate was approximately 2 DM, US $1.20. The guy was livid. I had robbed him of nearly 120 weeks combined of slave labor just by following regulations he seemed to be so keen to point out. His last sentence was the famous one, "He who laughs last." So, after completing my 4 weeks of training, I returned to work in the psych ward, only to be reassigned nearly randomly. Thorax surgery, intensive care, neurology. A few weeks here, a few days there. He thought he'd punished me. But to me, it was a great adventure getting to know so many aspects of medicine, so he took the last tool he had available. He forced me to live on site. This last one was actually part of the laws intended for Army conscripts, not ZVs, Nevertheless, it also applied to me. He ordered me to live on site, not go home after work as every other ZV there was allowed to do, so I complied. He actually made me live in the dorm of the hospital's nursing school, filled with nubile young ladies aged 16 to 20. And I was the only male there. Oh, the horror. This story just goes to show you how having a positive attitude can help you in life. A lot of people would have been ground down and resentful here, but you turned it to your advantage and got the best out of it. And our last story. Entitled mom hits my car and blames me for drunk driving. So, a little backstory. I have a really nice gray Land Cruiser that looks like a monster truck, and it costs a lot of money. Not because of the car itself, but mostly the parts inside of it. I live in a pretty good neighborhood, but it happens to be right next to the most busy road in my area. Also, I was underage when it comes to drinking, so I have never had alcohol in my life, unless I was at church. So let's meet the cast. EM, horrifying excuse for a mom. PK, poor kid, not really playing a part in this story. PO, police officer, aka my guardian angel. Me, most lucky guy in the world. All right, let's start. So I get a message from my coworker saying that there's a problem at work and I'd better come over. So I get out of my house, get in my Land Cruiser, and drive off in a bit of a rush. A few minutes pass and I'm about 3 miles away from work. I stop at a red light at this busy intersection on the most busy effing road in the entire country. There are car crashes here almost every other day. One time it happened twice in one day. So it's no surprise that I got into one at this intersection. So the light turned green and I was in a rush, so I was well in front of the cars beside me. Then, just as I'm about to clear the intersection, a big red minivan T-bones me and we both go sliding in different directions. Me, not as much because my car is much heavier than hers. I almost passed out because of shock and looked out my window to see who dropped a missile strike to the right of my car. I get out of my car and it's in pretty bad shape. There's a huge dent right next to the passenger side door and the glass is broken on the mirror. Luckily, nothing else that's visible. Enter entitled mom and poor kid. EM. What were you doing? Trying to drive ahead like that on red light? You could have killed me or my baby in that crash. And we have a very important birthday to go to. Me. I'm sorry, but it was a green light for me, not for you. And I had the right of way. EM in a quiet, accusatory tone. No, you didn't have the right of way. We had the right of way, not you. Me. Explain to me how you had the right of way. EM. I don't have to explain to you, you drunk a-hole. Once again, underage, never drank in my life. Are you going to pay for my car or what? Her car, the red minivan, looks almost like the front of it was blown up, then rammed by 100 bulls and a couple wrecking balls. I'm honestly surprised that she and her son survived because the driver's seat headrest was impaled by a piece of metal. Satan is most likely protecting his hellspawn from any harm, so she can be the biggest Karen this world has ever seen. Me. No, you're going to pay for it along with the damage you did to my car. This was the wrong thing to say. EM. Excuse me, you drunk B-turd. You honestly think I'm going to pay for your crappy A truck that you and your drinking buddy probably pulled out of a trash pile? Me. Yes, B. Again, also wrong thing to say. EM. How dare you treat me like that in front of my kid, you stupid piece of crap? My darling should never be exposed to your potty mouth. Your mother probably left you for dead because you were the most ugly piece of crap in the whole family of 20 kids, and the orphanage that you currently live in got tired of your bullcrap, so they gave you $100 to go buy this piece of crap lump of metal with wheels. Me. Angry as hell. That's it, I'm calling the cops if someone hasn't done so already. PK. Mommy, please stop harassing him. He's done nothing wrong. EM. He's done everything wrong. About 10 minutes later of yelling, 3 cop cars and an ambulance arrive. PO. Excuse me, sir, what happened here? Me. Well, EM. It was horrible, officer. This man was drunk driving. Once again, I was clearly underage and ran a red light which was clearly visible and almost killed me and my baby. Me. That's not true, officer. This woman is clearly lying, and you can see that I'm sober, and there were a ton of witnesses to the accident and what ensued, and they can tell you that she's in the wrong. P.O. Well, I might as well check both of you and the security cameras. There were security cameras in the intersection that recorded everything. E.M., clearly seeing that she was going to get caught. Oh, there's no need of doing that. We'll just exchange info and... P.O. I'm sorry, ma'am, but it's required that I know what happened and which of you is in the wrong, so we'll be watching the cam footage together. The police officer found the accident and saw that E.M. was clearly running a red light and she was speeding by at least 20 miles over the limit. The limit was 50. Then checks us both with a breathalyzer, and I'm completely sober. But she... Sorry, couldn't remember the exact number, was the equivalent of, quoting the police officer, having both eyes closed and driving with your feet drunk. They even found a bottle of Jack Daniels in the passenger side back seat half empty. However, the best part is still to come. Turns out she was never going to a birthday party. She was actually leaving the city. Oh, why, you ask? Because it turns out she had 3 pouches of illegal substances worth maybe $2,000 in her trunk. Does it end there? No. She was packing heat, and quite a bit for my state. That's right, police found a loaded handgun and a 6-inch switchblade in the center console. Combine all that, and you get $5,600 in repairs to my car, and a couple thousand more, or reprimands, 10.5 years in prison, 3 years on probation, and plenty of parenting classes, not to mention the several $100 speeding ticket she received before they found the drugs and weapons. EK was sent to his blood father, who actually divorced his mother because of her alcoholism. Personally, I wouldn't even call that waste of human potential a mother. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.